We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support our College Football Rebel Outpost channel with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody, even the Tar Heels. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid in week one. Do not be afraid to be a legend with the comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. I still have this cough. I am battling. I'm doing better every day. The voice isn't quite there. So I'm going to apologize for the coughing that I do during the show. I'll try to keep it to a minimum. And holy smokes, Mr. Spartan, Anthony Carlson, with an incredible donation. He's always helping us keep the lights on here. Anthony Carlson is very excited about Aiden Childs. He should be excited about the new defensive coordinator, Joe Rossi. I've talked about this before. The Spartan fan base is not going to know the genius of Joe Rossi this year. But they will next. And the year after that. In the year after that. This year, it's going to be tough on the defensive side of the ball, but Joe Rossi is going to develop it. Anthony Carlson, thank you so much. George Holton, David Sabanash, Michael Uten, Doug, Dave Chauncey, Tom DeBay, Richard Ledford, Hocken, Marcus Williams, J. Rod, 12278, Kevin White, 7 Empis, Dustin Flanner, Gene Calderon, FSU, Dre, 00, Dallas, Marquez, Random Tees, John Menser. We'll get to UConn in a moment. Brian Taylor, Ryan, Kenneth Stromness, George Holton, everybody. Please say thank you to Anthony Carlson for his incredible generosity to lead off week one, to lead off Greg the Gold selections versus the PATC community. Because I'm not the only one making the picks today. Through your votes, you're going to be making the selection as a PATC community. And you guys were as bad as I was last year. And so far this year, Greg the Gold is 0-1 against the spread, and the PATC community is 0-1. So, this week, week one, we got to turn it around. You're going to be making the selections first. I'm going to be making the selections second. And you're going to be making the selections by your vote. So, it's not just Greg the Gold that is going to be held accountable. It's you, the PATC community. The biggest college football sickos, and I say that with all the love and respect in the world. The biggest college football sickos in the country. Anyways, Anthony Carlson and everybody that I mentioned, you are hereby knighted, cloak, and dagger. You are all members of this great community, and we're going to be dropping some early peak cloak and dagger episodes tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning. We're talking early tomorrow morning. So when you wake up tomorrow, go check out our YouTube channel. There's going to be an episode there for members only. So keep your head on a swivel. Thank you for your incredible generosity, Mr. Anthony Carlson, Mr. Spartans. Kerry Gold knows. As we all saw Saturday, watching game together, Florida State did not play up to par. And personally, I feel lied to by Florida State's media. Thank you, Kerry Gold knows, for your super chat. That's an interesting take that I was not expecting. You feel lied to by Florida State media. Well, that's your feelings. And I respect your emotions, your feelings on that game. I do, and I talked about it. Thank you so much for your continued generosity, Kerry, to this channel, helping us keep the lights on. Thank you so much. I am wondering if, now it was just one game. So, you know, things can change. You can make adjustments. Teams improve. They go up and down, roller coaster, matchup issues, depending on when you play a team. Georgia Tech did have more continuity going into week 0. So if this game was played a month from now, Florida State would probably be in better position. But that's all hindsight. I will say this. I do wonder, and I have the same there are a few offensive lines out there that I think are not as good in the run game as they are protecting the quarterback. I think Florida State is one of those offensive lines. I know they're supposed to be a real good running team this year. They're going to have to be a real good running team this year. But I don't know if that offensive line, for as much snaps that line has played, I don't know if they're great with the run game. I know their running back the last 2 years broke so many tackles. I think their running backs made that offensive line look good. I think Jordan Travis made that offensive line look good. I think that defense make the offense look good. I question Florida State's offensive line. Going to be a very interesting game Monday night. Florida State, Boston College, Thomas Castellanos, Boston College quarterback. He's going to be running around trying to make plays, kind of like Haynes King. Now, Florida State should be able to push Boston College around on the ground. But are they going to be able to do it? We're going to find out Monday night. I don't know. I don't think anybody, in my opinion, I don't think Florida State media lied. I really think everybody thought that Florida State was going to pound Georgia Tech into the ground. And I believe that Mike Norvell was completely convinced that that was going to happen. And that's why I don't think they made the adjustments until they had to complete some fourth down conversions in the air. They finally pushed the ball down the field. DJ did find Douglas and other guys, and it worked. But I think everybody was so convinced, and they did not want to walk away from the game plan that they've been working on for weeks. So I don't know if they were lying. I think they were just, that O-line, I've got the same doubts about Ole Miss Rebels' offensive line. I think they're great at pass protection. I'm not convinced that they can push people off the line of scrimmage in the run game. The one worry I have about the Ohio State Buckeyes is their offensive line running the ball. So there's some offensive lines out there that I think are better at pass protection than they are at grinding out the run. That's just my opinion on it. But thank you, Anthony Carlson and Kerry Gold knows. We're going to get into it. Week 1, Greg the Gold selections, PATC community. We're doing it today, Monday, August 26th. The games are going to be here before we know it, Thursday night. And this is a national show. This is a college football national show. This is not a YouTube channel that discusses more or less about one conference or about one team. So we're already extremely different than most college football YouTube channels. We do a national show. However, today we're going to do something very unusual. We're going to start the show by discussing some Minnesota Golden Gopher propaganda. Oh my God! Oh my God! The hype is real. And I feel comfortable about doing this. The Gophers play Thursday night against North Carolina. We're going to be doing a watch party. Gophers, Minnesota, Thursday night. Saturday, we're going to be doing Georgia-Clemson watch party. We're going to be doing Texas A&M and Notre Dame watch party. We're going to try to figure out what we're going to do Friday, what we're going to do Saturday. We're probably not going to do that Monday game. We'll probably do the LSU USC game. But because the Gophers are Thursday night game against North Carolina, I want to show you a column of today, CBS Sports, about Minnesota Golden Gopher quarterback Max Brosmere. Max Brosmere, a New Hampshire standout, hopes to become the next FCS to FBS transfer to hit it big. Again, CBS Sports, early this morning. We're going to go through this article. We're going to make our picks. Minnesota quarterback Max Brosmere knows not to take any of this for granted. He heads to work out every day at the $166 million practice facility. When the weather is bad, the team practices at indoor facility. He drives by the Mayo Clinic downtown, one of the best medical complexes in the world. Max Brosmere is going to be a doctor when his football career is over. For 5 years, Brosmere played at the University of New Hampshire, FCS school that averaged 8,700 fans per home game. There was a water fountain in the weight room at UNH that didn't work for years. If a player forgot to bring water to a lift, they just didn't get water. At Minnesota, not so much. It's just a fact. The resources are different, Brosmere told CBS Sports. It teaches you to love the game of football. That's my job here, is to provide perspective. Brosmere perspective comes from getting left behind. Despite growing up in Roswell, Georgia, the middle of SEC country, Brosmere failed to earn a single FBS offer. Even local FCS programs ultimately passed. Thinking he was either too small or that he didn't have a strong enough arm, he earned a preferred walk-on offer from Georgia, which would ironically turn into walk-on Stetson Bennett one season later. However, Brosmere wanted to reward his parents' investment with a fully funded education at New Hampshire, the program that produced Ohio State coach Ryan Day and offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. Brosmere became the first quarterback to ever start as a true freshman. He went on to lead the FCS with 3,464 yards passing and earned an All-American honors and finished as a finalist for the Walter Payton Award. In his lone game against an FBS opponent as a senior, Brosmere diced Central Michigan to the tune of 493 yards and 4 touchdowns. I was always an inch short. I was always an inch too short. 10 pounds too light. Maybe 5 yards too short when throwing, Brosmere said. There was always something that could write, always something someone could write against me and say. Sometimes I look back and I think, well, that was probably a fair evaluation, but what they couldn't evaluate was my passion and work ethic for football. Brosmere finished his 5-year career playing in 36 career games, missing the entire 2021 season with an injury. 8,713 career passes and 70 touchdowns. On Thursday, Max Brosmere will start his first FBS game against North Carolina. Last season, 3.5 million people watched the Gophers open their season in that slot. It's a perfect culmination of a career for a quarterback who's always planning one step ahead. We have a chessboard in our room because he's an avid chess player. Minnesota offensive coordinator Greg Harbaugh Jr. told CBS Sports he loves to play chess because the move you're on will set up the next move. That's how he looks at quarterback. Finding a fit at Minnesota. When Brosmere entered the transfer portal, fit was at the top of his mind. He had a pathway to the NFL by staying at New Hampshire. Landing in a rough situation could devastate his future plans, both on and off the field. It wasn't ever about money with him. It was all about culture, Harbaugh said. And I think that was the number one thing that drew him to us. We needed what he could give us. And that's what he was looking for. He was looking for, where can I take my ability to lead and be a great quarterback? That's what he was looking for. The Golden Gophers have quietly been one of the most consistent programs in the Big Ten under Coach P.J. Fleck. Outside of the pandemic season, Fleck posted 3 straight years of 9 wins or better before falling below 500 last year in 2023. The loss of veteran quarterback Tanner Morgan played a pivotal role. During Morgan's 5-year career with the Gophers, he ranked in the top half of the Big Ten in passer rating every season. His best year by far came in 2019 when Minnesota put together a historic 11-win season and won its first division title in program history. They did not win the division title. That did not happen. Sorry, but that did not happen. We did not win the division title. I read that and I swallowed my tongue. I wish that happened. The Gophers finished 10th in the country that year, number 10 in the nation, but they still did not win the division title. And it kills me today. Anyways, back to the article. Back to positivity. Back to the propaganda, the Gopher propaganda that I promised you at the start of the show. Last year, the Gophers posted the 11th best passer rating in the Big Ten with a 6 yards per attempt mark that led only Iowa. Disastrous passing unit. Incumbent, the Greek rifle, Ethan Kaliakmanis, transferred to Rutgers. Good luck, Rutgers. After the season, and Cole Kramer graduated, got married, leaving 0 returning pass attempts on the roster. Walk-on Max Chickenjansky was the only returning quarterback in the room. That left a gaping hole in the quarterback room quickly. Brosmere, ranked as the number 19th portal by 247 Sports, emerged as a perfect transfer quarterback to fill it. It's fun because you can do pretty much anything with him, Harbaugh said. He's fun to coach because you're coaching him, but also having conversations with him. It's unique. It's a different relationship than I've ever had with a player. The last guy who I had it with was Sky Moore, who could really sit there and talk and have conversations about the film. We put a lot on his plate from a game planning perspective in terms of giving him multiple plays at the line of scrimmage, which is more of a pro-style approach, New Hampshire coach Rick Santos told CBS Sports. A lot of times we would tailor some of the calls in the game to what he was seeing in real time. You don't give a quarterback that autonomy unless you truly have the utmost trust and faith in him. By the way, Brosmere developed into an All-American quarterback at New Hampshire while also earning his degree in biomedical sciences with a 3.88 GPA. I think his goals are to play for as long as he can in the NFL. If he's blessed to have that opportunity, and his fallback plan is to be a doctor, Santos said. That's how special he is. Natural gifts play a part. After gaining more than 20 pounds since high school and developing physically, Brosmere better fits the profile of an FBS caliber quarterback. It will also take him time to adjust to the pace of the game, especially in the defensive first Big Ten. None of the FCS transfers in the college football playoff era played in the Big Ten. Brosmere struggled at times early in spring camp. He expected more of himself, to be prepared for every hurdle, to be perfect. Before too long, it just became football practice again. Perspective. It was more about timing, anticipation, Brosmere said. Windows are opening at different times, not necessarily slower or faster, but just the way the players play. At this point, you're learning to practice against new players. Ultimately, I know that I'm good enough to play at this level. The transition period was only going to last a certain amount of time. And finally, finishing up this article, on Thursday, Minnesota opens the season by hosting North Carolina in a nationally televised game. For Brosmere, former coaches at New Hampshire, seeing him debut will be bittersweet. Santos is confident that the NFL will find Brosmere if he's stuck at New Hampshire. But after watching Brosmere grow from true freshman starter to the Walter Payton Award finalist, Santos is excited to see one of the best competitors he's ever coached to get his shot at Big Ten football. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is my Minnesota Golden Gopher propaganda to lead off the 2024 season, week 1. But I got bad news. I got bad news for my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers going into this Thursday night game. Now, I'm going to tell you guys some information, some of the rumors. Nothing is really confirmed, but they kind of are. And I need you guys to have this information before you make the selection, North Carolina or Minnesota. So yes, I started the program off with Golden Gopher propaganda. But there is bad news. So, we'll get to that in a moment. Ryan Willie, thank you so much for the 5 gifted membership. The Evil Badger, Ryan Willie, thank you so much, man. I do appreciate it, especially when I'm doing Golden Gopher propaganda. Thank you, Evil Badger, for your incredible kindness, your incredible generosity. Wisconsin, Western Michigan, that's also a game we're going to be making our selections during this live show. Ryan Willie, thank you so much. You and the 5 who were gifted are knighted officially Cloak and Daddy. For the 5 who were gifted a membership, Nitwit, Robert Perez, Pretty No Girl, Sample Text, and Art Thompson. Please say thank you to Ryan Willie when you get an opportunity. I see Nitwit already did. So thank you so very much, Mr. Ryan Willie. We're going to skip the roll call. We're going to get into the picks. We're going to get into your phone calls. We're going to get into everything right now. Let me just start off. Pete Thamel's reporting sources. The Big 12 presidents and athletic directors met about UConn today. This was a little bit more than an hour ago. Pete Thamel, ESPN reporting. No vote was taken on admitting the Huskies as expected. The call was informational in nature and discussion focused. It was led by the Big 12's outside consultant. Now, is that Endeavor? Is the consultant group Endeavor? I don't know, guys. I'm not reporting. I know that Endeavor did some consultant group with the Big 12. I don't know who did it during this Dallas meeting, and I'm not sure why Pete Thamel would report it. Maybe he wasn't given the go-ahead to do so. But this Big 12 outside consultant walked through UConn's media and market value. By the way, when the ACC implodes, you know, when we talk about first party talks, Florida State's going to have a consultant group with them. Clemson is going to have their consultant group with them, or in a separate meeting with the Big Ten, with the SEC, with the Big 12. So this is not an outside consultant group. This is not, I'm letting you guys know, this is not unusual. This happens. This is a first party discussions. And the Big 12 considered it to be legally free, to be able to do this with UConn. I don't know. I know there's some reports that just came out. I haven't read them. But there's probably some sort of... The UConn deal with the Big East is probably not as binding as a university being in the ACC with 12 more years left to go on the grant of rights. Legally, the Big 12 let this happen. And UConn is going for it. So I wanted to make that clear, number one. Number two, and I will get to number two in a second, Tony, Tough Tony. Maroon and gold propaganda is worth $2. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate your generosity, Tough Tony. However, you might be wanting to take the $2 back once I deliver the bad news, or the unsettling news, or the news that is going to make me... I'm not going to be getting much sleep for the next 72 hours. So, Tony, I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate you delivering the super chat before I deliver the unsettling Minnesota Golden Gophers news, which we all knew was coming because it's Loserville City and I am the mayor. No matter how positive, no matter how we talk ourselves into being positive about something over here, it always gets balanced off by something being devastated over here. That is Minnesota Golden Gophers. Thank you, Tony. I do appreciate the generosity. Hold on one second here. Hold on one second. Okay. The other part of the UConn I have poked and prodded on this. I poked and prodded on this a month ago because I was asked by a handful of people. Some college football YouTube owner channels asked me about a month ago, even before the rumors were circulating around last week. About 2 weeks prior, people hit up on me. And I did poking and prodding at that time in the information that I got back, and I actually talked about it on a live show here at Peek Around the Corner. I said the Big 12 presidents are not there. UConn is, Yormark still is pursuing UConn, but the Big 12 president votes are not there. So I did poking and prodding here in the last, today and also yesterday, late yesterday and today. And the information, I'm going to say it. It seems like the chatter behind the curtain is Brett Yormark could get the votes. Like, UConn could get the votes. And UConn believes that they could get the votes. And that's why they're going for it. And the Big 12 is not playing a game of UConn comes in with their consultants and they've already talked to athletic directors. Now they're talking to the presidents. Big 12 is not playing a game with UConn. This is real. This is serious. The Big 12 presidents could be convinced. They could be enough votes. The valuation of UConn is not probably going to be the biggest hurdle. The biggest hurdle that UConn has for them as they're meeting in Dallas, in one of the biggest reason why I'm being told, the biggest reason why nobody expects a decision anytime soon, nobody expects a vote to take place anytime soon among the Big 12 presidents is because of the issue of timing. I am being told that the Big 12, the chatter behind the curtain, they're being told that the Big 12 presidents are not convinced they need to really do this at this time. They can be convinced to bring UConn aboard. Maybe even make the decision next year after this football season and have the women's and the men's program come on aboard in 2027 and have the football program come in 2031. But the Big 12 presidents are not convinced that now is the right time. Let the landscape, let the water find its own level, so to speak. Let the ACC thing play out for another 12 months. Whatever they can do with UConn now, they can do with UConn a year from now. So it's, the UConn is trying to rush the bid. Of course they are. They're trying to get into a power conference. So they want to rush the bid. They want a vote, yes or no. They want to squeeze in. They want to get in. They want to do whatever. It isn't. The Big 12 presidents understand I think they completely understand the valuation of UConn. It's not like this is the first time they've had deep discussions about UConn. They understand the marketplace and the basketball brand and Brett Yormark decoupling the basketball and the football content. So you have that issue. The timing. Why should we do it now? The Big 12 presidents. There is one answer. There is one answer that could be of value in regards to that question. Why now? Because there's really nothing on the calendar. UConn's not going to get scooped up by the ACC. There is this one possible answer to that question that could be in favor of UConn getting a vote that they want here in the next 6 months. And that is Brett Yormark. The relationship between Brett Yormark and the Big 12 presidents. The Big 12 presidents, we're talking about relationships being crucial and realignment and all that stuff. Well, everybody knows that Brett Yormark believes in this move. He wants this move. He thinks it's going to pay dividends years from now for every Big 12 institution in the conference. And this is something that the Big 12 presidents have been balking at. But do they really want to balk at Brett Yormark? Do they want him? Do they want to give another no vote to something that Brett Yormark really, really, really wants to do? And that is add UConn. I will say this. When I poked and prod, one of my first questions was, how did we find out about this? How did we find out about a meeting and coming in Dallas next week, which was today? How did we, Well, it was told to me that it wasn't UConn who leaked it. No. UConn did not leak this. I was told that people who are supportive of Brett Yormark, who have Brett Yormark's interest, they're the ones who allegedly leaked it. Because they want it out in public. You know, if the Big 12 presidents are going to shoot this down, they want it done in public. So we'll talk about more about that later. But I'm just saying, there's a little bit of cloak and dagger going on. Brett Yormark really wants this to happen. And he's putting his chips in the middle of the table. And there are people who allegedly leaked it. And they want everybody to know that Yormark's chips is in the middle of the table. So, this is kind of the opposite of what happened when it was leaked out of Los Angeles that USC called the Big Ten. When I was given the story, it was people leaking it to make sure that the Big Ten donors, eventually athletic directors, and everybody knew about it, not everybody, but the circle kept getting a little bit bigger, into where they could pressurize Kevin Warren to do the right thing. So that was cloak and dagger, and I was swept up into it. And the Big Ten found out about what I was saying, and they were tracking my reports, and it's so this is the reverse of that. This is people leaking in the benefit of the commissioner instead of leaking it because nobody trusted the commissioner, Kevin Warren. I'm going to leave it at that for now. As you can see, I've been working on the UConn story. A little bit of a different angle than probably anybody else, but there it is. Anyways, we're going to get to it right now. Let's go. Let's get to it. You guys got a lot of thinking to do. Now remember, we're going to do 8 games. 8 games. We already have 1 game in the book. We both got it wrong. PATC Community took Florida State minus 13. It went down. I took over 56 on Florida State, Georgia Tech. It went down. We're both 0-1. And we both have 1 game in the books. Like, we already got 1. And it's Texas A&M and Notre Dame. And we both took Texas A&M minus 1. We both have the same selection. So, there's going to be 9 total picks in week 1. Okay. First game. Colorado versus North Dakota State. Does Colorado cover minus 9.5 point spread? Whoops, I did that incorrect. Hold on. My bad. Does Colorado cover minus 9.5 point spread? If you vote yes, that means you're taking Colorado to cover the 9.5 point spread. If you select no, you're taking the North Dakota State Bison. The PATC community is going to make their selections first, and then I'm going to make the selections. You're going to make the selections first for all 8 games. Ready? The poll starts now. Does Colorado cover the minus 9.5 point spread? We're going to give you a minute to vote. Richard L., Colorado Buffalo, at Folsom. He's saying absolutely. Absolutely. We've gotten 40 votes already in. Woo! We're going to give it another 15 seconds. You got to cast your vote if you want your voice to be heard. Yes, you're taking Colorado minus 9.5. No, you're taking North Dakota State Bison. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 60% took North Dakota State. Holy smokes. Plus 9.5. North Dakota State plus 9.5. Wow. Wow, that surprises me. Stephen Clark says North Dakota State's going to win by 12. Wow. I don't know, guys. I do not know about that. We're going to wait to see who I take in that game. Now we're going to the second game. We're going to Minnesota versus North Carolina. And this is where I got to tell you about some alleged rumors. You see that line? Minnesota is getting 1.5 points. 48 hours ago, it was giving 2.5 points. 72 hours ago, the Golden Gophers were favored by 3 points. And now, North Carolina is favored by 1.5 points. Why? Why is the late money, the smart money, going on North Carolina? And it is being dumped on the Tar Heels. Remember, the late money went on Georgia Tech. The Golden Gophers have a running back named Darius Taylor. He is an absolute beast. He won the Big Ten Freshman of the Week award back early in 2023 football season. But then he got nicked up and he could not get back on the field. When he played as a true freshman, he was phenomenal. So, Darius Taylor is going to be the Golden Gophers RB1 this year. Most of the country don't know about him. The bettors do. And he was looking incredible during camp, during practice. But then, in the last scrimmage, the press was there. He pulled up, grabbed his hamstring, allegedly, and put ice on it, allegedly. We do not know the status of Darius Taylor. I'm not going to report to you what other Minnesota podcasters and owners of website, I'm not going to report on what they are reporting. I'm reporting to you this because this has been in the newspaper. So, and I'm not going to go any further. I'm not going to put out, I got to be very careful. I honestly don't know if Darius Taylor is going to play or not. I have a very high suspicion that if he does play, it ain't going to be like he's getting the rock 25 times, which normally that's what he would do. That's the problem. If Darius Taylor plays, he's not going to be Darius Taylor. And why play him? The next two games after North Carolina is Rhode Island and Nevada. And Minnesota most likely going to win those games. And then they have their first conference game against Iowa with that incredible defense. Going against Max Brosmere, who I just had propaganda about. But that's going to be his first Big Ten game against Iowa Hawkeyes defense. You're going to want Darius Taylor. Excuse me. So, Darius Taylor, if he plays, he probably isn't going to play that much. Not like what he usually would do. Okay, but that's not all. That's not all. Danielle Jackson. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, without a shadow of a doubt, on paper, have the weakest, thinnest, least productive wide receiver room in the Big Ten. Even those who believe that Max Brosmere is going to play at a very high level in the Big Ten still look at our wide receivers and they shudder. Except for one guy, Danielle Jackson. You saw him make play after play after play last year opening Nebraska. He had that toe drag. Daniel Jackson is a legit Big Ten wide receiver. Great wide receiver. After him, well, guess what? Daniel Jackson hasn't practiced very much at all. He has practiced recently, and that's all I know. I don't know what type of Danielle Jackson we're getting Thursday night. I don't know what we're getting with Darius Taylor Thursday night, but they are our two weapons, and of course, in typical Minnesotan Golden Gophers, it just falls apart before it even gets started. That's exactly what happened last year when we were decimated in the back seven, when we were incredibly thin in the back seven, and we had to play true freshmen all through the season in the back seven. We got two guys who we know we can count on, who are the best offensive weapons, and they're struggling to get out of the gate. Allegedly. That is why the line has gone Minnesota -3 to Minnesota +1.5. I had to give you that information before you got. Now, I'm not telling you to take North Carolina. I would love for the PATC community to take my beloved Golden Gophers. But I had to give that information out because I talk about line movement. I told you about Georgia Tech. That big line, the big movement went towards Georgia Tech. Well, I got to tell you why I think it happened here. Okay? To be fair, to be peek around the corner. Does North Carolina cover -1.5 point spread? Again, the game's in Minneapolis, Huntington Bank Stadium. Does North Carolina cover the 1.5 point spread? Yes, you're taking North Carolina. No, you're taking my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. The voting starts now. Yes, North Carolina. No, Minnesota. Yes, North Carolina. No, Minnesota. Every vote counts. 37 votes are in the book. Going to give you another 20 seconds. The PATC community voting. North Carolina, Minnesota. There's been big line movements. We're down to the wire. 5 seconds left to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's 52% Minnesota. PATC community takes Minnesota in a very close vote. Holy smokes. It was North Carolina most of the way, but PATC community comes through at the very end. Preston from Greensboro, another PATC community, the cooler. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Ryan Brooks rigged elections. Did I stuff the ballot box? Eric Boring, Minnesota, taking Minnesota. Easy money with the Tar Heels. Big Ears Bowl. Immaculate says, sorry, but I'm taking North Carolina. Minnesota's wide receivers. Look. I can give you a positive spin. I can say that Elijah Spencer, he's his second year from transfer from Charlotte. He dropped a lot of balls last year, but maybe he's ready to take it to the next level. I could say that. Or Lemington or Brockington, a wide receiver that was coming on strong, but had a devastating injury early in the year last year, and now he's coming back. I don't know how Brockington's going to play. He was one of the many guys who got injured last year, right out of the gate. We got a young man named Christian Driver. He's going to be number 4. You're going to want to keep an eye on him. I'm going to talk about him pregame, who is the son of Driver, the Green Bay Packers wide receiver, who played with Brett Favre. What was his first name? Bobby Driver? I can't remember his name. The really good green. This is his son, Christian Driver. He was a 4-star recruit, went to Penn State. Penn State wanted to have him be a defensive back. Christian Driver wanted to be a wide receiver. So he transferred after 1 year. He's come to Minnesota, and he has absolutely shined during practice. But again, another guy who hasn't produced yet. We got the kid Tyler Williams, a high 4-star recruit. Played at Georgia last year as a true freshman. And then he bolted. And remember, the SEC can't go after an SEC player in the spring portal. Tyler Williams comes out. A bunch of Big Ten teams went after him. And he ends up at Minnesota. An incredible athlete. But again, he has not produced in college football. I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming anybody for anything. I'm just saying, after Danielle Jackson, so what Max Brosmere is going to do, he's going to quick pass, quick decision, use that very intelligent mind of his and be the general and drive us down the field, probably without Darius Taylor. The running back that's going to back up Darius Taylor is Marcus Major. You've all heard of him, especially the Big 12 people in the chat room. And Marcus Major is an electrifying running back, big recruit. Oklahoma loved him, but he couldn't stay on the field. Well, he's healthy. He went to Minnesota because we run the ball, and he's been shining in practice. But again, we'll see how that works out. Anyways, Donald Driver. Thank you. Donald Driver, Christian Driver's son, number 4, Gopher wide receiver. We'll see what happens Thursday night. Okay, enough about that. Wisconsin and Western Michigan. Tyler Van Dyke's opener. The Badgers in Madison, Campbell Stadium. Does Evil Badgers cover minus 24-point spread. Does the Evil Badgers cover the minus 24-point spread? Luke Fickell, second year. Tyler Van Dyke won the job. God dang it, I screwed it up again. Hold on. I don't know what's wrong with me, guys. I keep screwing up. Hold on. The voting begins now. Jeff Olson, the Evil Badger, is in the house. And he, of course, says Wisconsin lock. Jeff Morgan says too many points. The hot guy, immaculate. That's a lot of points for week 1. Preston from Greensboro. I'm not convinced Van Dyke can score 24 points. $35 votes are in. We're going to give it another 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. End of voting. 62% took Western Michigan to cover the 24-point spread. Very interesting indeed. Okay, on to the next. Uh-oh. Morgantown, Penn State Nittany Lions, West Virginia. Last year, they played at Happy Valley. This year, it's in Morgantown. The line has moved towards West Virginia. The late money has been dumped on West Virginia. Does Penn State cover minus 8.5 point spread? Yes, you are taking Penn State. No, you're taking West Virginia. That line has moved all the way down to 8.5. The voting begins now. Yes, you're taking Penn State to cover. No, you're taking West Virginia to cover. Eight and a half points. Yes, Penn State. No, West Virginia. We're going to give it 10 more seconds. 5 more seconds. West Virginia has been selected. 58% took West Virginia to cover the 8.5 point spread. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. So far, the PATC community has taken North Dakota State plus 9.5 versus Colorado. Minnesota plus a 1.5 versus North Carolina. Western Michigan plus 24 against Wisconsin. West Virginia plus 8.5 versus Penn State. So far, the PATC community has taken the 4 dogs. Week 0, all 4 dogs covered. PATC community looks like they took note of that, and they're going heavy on the dogs thus far. Is that going to hold up? Is that going to hold up? Here we go. Here we go. Clemson at Georgia. It's not really at Georgia, but it's in Atlanta. Clemson at Georgia. Does Georgia cover minus 13? Now, this line has stayed steady for months. Does Georgia cover minus 13.5 point spread? The voting begins now. Yes, you're taking Georgia. No, you're taking Clemson. Excuse me. Yes, Georgia. No, Clemson. We're going to give the vote 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds to vote. Yes is Georgia. No, you're taking Clemson plus 13.5 points. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 70% of the PATC community took Georgia to cover minus 13.5. So that's the first time the PATC community took the favorite in week 1. We still got 3 more games to go. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. The Jackrabbits versus the Cowboys. Does Oklahoma State cover minus 10 point spread? Does Oklahoma State cover the minus 10 point spread? Yes. Yes, you're taking Oklahoma State. No, you're taking South Dakota State. Greg, are you getting a giant tub of cookies at the fair this year? No, I will not be going to the Minnesota State Fair for, let's see, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's 15, 16. I'm not going to the Minnesota State Fair for the 38 years in a row. Haven't been to the State Fair in 38 years. The last time I went, well, no, that's wrong. 40 years. It's been 40 years. I've got no desire to go to the Minnesota State Fair and be with thousands and thousands of people elbowing each other. I got better things to do. Anyways, the vote will give you 5 more seconds. It looks like a landslide. The PATC community with 66% of the vote is taking Oklahoma State to cover the -10 versus South Dakota State Jackrabbits. LSU, USC. Does LSU cover -4.5 point spread versus USC? Does LSU cover the 4.5 point spread versus USC? Yes, you're taking LSU. No, you're taking the Trojans. Jimmy is correct. Why would I go to any place that serves cheese on a burger? Big Ears Bowl, where either team get a third down stop. Immaculate thinks LSU is overrated. I think they are a little bit, but I'm nervous about it. Ryan Brooks says they recover as long as the cooler doesn't pick them. Well, you're going to have to wait to see, Mr. Ryan Brooks, what I do with that game. You're going to have to just wait and see. Will I eat cheese on a pretzel? Yes, of course. Of course I will. I'm not going to eat cheese on a pretzel if there is bacon bits spread on the pretzel. No. Gonna give 10 more seconds. We've got a tie vote. 46 votes are in. We're sitting at 50-50. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's still tie. The next vote decides it. We are in sudden death. We need another vote out there. Somebody who's watching this program, vote LSU. There it is. Yes, LSU got the vote. It went into overtime. It went into sudden death. LSU, 51%. The PATC community, wow, that was dead even. The last game on the list, yes, Monday night. We're going back to it, ladies and gentlemen. The PATC community took Florida State -13 against Georgia Tech, and it went down in flames. Monday night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 6:30 Central Time, 5:30 Mountain Time, 4:30 Pacific Time. The Seminoles face the Boston College Eagles. Thomas Castellanos. Here it is. What is the PATC community gonna do? Does Florida State cover the -17 point spread? Will the Seminoles recover? Will they make the adjustments? Will they blow out Boston College at home by more than 17 points? Does Florida State cover the minus 17-point spread? Yes, you're taking Florida State. No, you're taking Boston College. The voting begins now. Yes, Florida State. No, Boston College. Expedition Greg, I'm not sold on Florida State. Infamous says Boston College in a blowout. Rock and Rant, I'm going to talk about that game in a moment. What time in China? I have no idea. Minnesota State Fair, I don't know if it has fried badger. I haven't been there in 40 years, but I got to tell you, they have a lot of stuff. Minnesota State Fair is it? I think it's the second biggest state fair in the country, right? Or maybe it's the biggest. I think it's not as big as Texas, but Minnesota's ridiculous. It affects the Minnesota State Fair affects the Golden Gophers being able to sell tickets to that Thursday night game. I mean, the Minnesota State Fair is the most popular thing in the state, and I don't want anything to do with it. Anyways, we're going to give the vote 10 more seconds. It's a close vote right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 54% takes Boston College plus 17. My goodness. Well, I can tell you, I'm going to make my picks right now. And then we're going to go to the phone calls. You can talk about week 1 games, obviously. You can talk about anything you want in college football. The UConn situation. What I talked about in the live show yesterday. Whatever you want to talk about, give us a call. 763-260-1333. But I got to make my picks. Greg the Goal. Greg the Goal. Locks. All 8 of these games are locks. No Gators and Canes game. There is one game I left off this list, which I think is a lock. I will get into it, but I wanted to keep it to 8 games. Greg the Goal. 8 locks. Be prepared. Write these down. Greg the Gold with Texas A&M being a lock. Greg the Gold is about to go 0-1 to having a record of 9-1 after week 1. Buckle up, baby. Buckle up. Buckle up. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Colorado, North Dakota State. Look, PATC community, you made a lot of mistakes here in week 1. I'm going to be honest with you. Greg the Cooler this, Greg the Cooler that. It's Greg the Gold. It's Greg the Gold. I've been telling you. The PATC community, you were not on your game in week 1. You weren't on your game in week 0. And you've fallen even further and further behind. North Dakota State Bison is not the North Dakota State Bison of the last 10 years. Colorado is going to whoop up on the Bison. Now, what happens between Colorado and Nebraska, we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to evaluate what the Buffaloes do against the Bison. We're going to have to evaluate how the Cornhuskers do against the UTEP. We're going to have to evaluate that, wait till the following week. But Colorado is going to whip up on North Dakota State Bison. Greg the Gold takes Colorado minus 9.5. Minnesota versus North Carolina. Do I take my heart? Do I take my brain? The line has collapsed. It was Minnesota minus 3. Now it's plus 1.5. We talked about the alleged reasons why the line has moved. I did my Gopher. Thank you, Richard L. Greg the Gold for the win. I did my Max Brosmere propaganda piece. CBS did an article on him. I think people are starting to understand. I think people are starting to get it that Max Brosmere is the next Cam Ward coming out of FCS. Max Brosmere is going to be the general that leads the Gophers to win after win after win after win. People are starting to understand. And after Thursday night in Huntington Bank Stadium, we're going to be doing a watch party here at Peek Around the Corner. After Thursday night, the country is going to know what the fat guy from Minnesota already knows. The Minnesota Golden Gophers are for real. Forget about the question marks in the back seven. Forget about our historic, horrific special teams. Forget about us being Loserville City and me, the fat guy from Minnesota, from being the mayor, reelected year after year after year after year. The losing is over. The Gophers take out the Tar Heels 38-16 this Thursday night. It's a blowout. Absolute blowout. We have been waiting. We have been waiting at Minnesota for generations. I'm not talking years. I'm not talking decades. I'm talking multiple generations of humans. My father, my father's father. We've been waiting for a quarterback. Yeah, Tanner Morgan, he was good. He was good. He was good. Low ceiling, high floor. We haven't had a quarterback drafted by the NFL since, 1972? Those days are over. Max Brosmere is the perfect fit. You're going to be seeing quick decision making, quick passes. He's going to lead us down the field. It's going to be a thing of beauty. If you want to see beauty, and all humanity needs to see more beauty. If you want to see beauty, watch the Gophers, Tar Heels Thursday night. Join us. Watch party. I think it's 8 o'clock Central Time. Max Brosmere leads the Gophers to an epic, smashing victory. Okay, let's get on with it. So, of course, I'm going to take UNC. No, I'm not. I'm taking Minnesota. Minnesota, I'll take the 1.5 points. I was going to give 3 points 3 days ago, but I'll take the 1.5. I'll take the 1.5. Tony's crying like a baby. You should. This is it. Tony, this is our time. This is our, Greg the Cooler is on fire right now. Absolutely. I'm already 2-0 in week 0 games. Colorado and Minnesota. Wisconsin, Western Michigan. Again, this was a trap game. We talk about the evil Badgers. We may have to talk about the evil fat guy from Minnesota. I put out this trap. And the PATC community fell right into the trap. I'm sorry I had to do it. But I got to get out in the lead. I got to have a better record than you guys. This is a trap. I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew that I knew that you thought you knew that I was going to take Western Michigan. This Western Michigan is not good. They have fallen off the cliff. Wisconsin is going to spank, absolutely spank Western Michigan. And they're going to go back to Kalamazoo and wow. Wisconsin is going to crush Luke Fickell. Tyler Van Dyke, I have problems with Tyler, but they are absolutely going to crush Western Michigan in Madison Friday night. I'm taking the evil Badgers in a big win by 40-some points. I'm taking Wisconsin minus 24. So, I've got Colorado. I've got Minnesota. I've got Wisconsin. What am I going to do with Penn State and West Virginia? What am I going to do? Well, I have spoken recently. About the situation that the college football sickos are in. The sickos that watch this program. West Virginia was the most underrated power conference team in the country last month, the month before that, the month before that. Western Michigan was the most underrated team. Garrett Green was the most underrated quarterback in power conference football. Now, West Virginia is the most overrated team in power conference football. And Garrett Green, while I like him, he's not going anywhere near New York City for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Garrett Green is now the most overrated quarterback in power conference football. West Virginia is a good team. They're going to challenge for the Big 12 championship. And I think this is going to be a very close game. Penn State knifed me last year. Penn State made me look like the idiot that I am, and I did not need Penn State's help, but they helped. Penn State did me wrong, and I will not forget. So even though I think now West Virginia is a little bit, not a little bit, now they're overrated. I'm sorry, Mountaineer fans. But I think Penn State is going to have troubles in Morgantown week 1. Something about Drew Aller I still don't trust. Even though he only threw, 2 interceptions last year? A remarkable touchdowns to interception ratio. way more accurate than Garrett Green. Drew Aller is the better quarterback. Singleton and Allen are great running backs. Same with Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson. I think it's going to be a close game. I do think Penn State pulls it out, but the West Virginia Mountaineers, they do cover. So I got the West Virginia Mountaineers covering. It's going to be within a touchdown. It's going to be one hell of a game to watch. I'm going to be glued to it. Clemson, Georgia. Jeff Morgan, I took West Virginia. I took them to cover. But I think now they're a little bit overrated. They've gotten a lot of love from a lot of people. Great fan base. It's a fun team to watch, and they're good. But I'm going to need to see Garrett Green. Complete more than 54% of his passes. It's the truth. He's got to elevate that up to 60%. If I see that, if I see Garrett Green consistently make that 3rd down and 6 pass and not have it get batted down at the line of scrimmage, then I'm going to jump all in. But right now, I can't. It's why I've got West Virginia finishing 6th instead of finishing 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in the Big 12. But I do think they cover. Against Penn State. I'm not going to spend much time on this. Clemson's got a really good defense, really good defensive players. I talked about them in the offseason, but Georgia Bulldogs are going to blow the doors off of Clemson. I agree with the PATC community. I have got Georgia minus 13.5. I think it's going to be an absolute blowout. I'm sorry, Clemson Tiger fans. Look, I'd be happy if you prove me wrong. No question about it. But I don't think so. South Dakota State at Oklahoma State. Now, you saw what I did with North Dakota State. The Bison are not the Bison of the last 10 years. I got Colorado blowing out North Dakota State. But I got South Dakota State hanging close with the Cowboys. The PATC community, 66% of the voters took Oklahoma State to cover. I'm taking the Jackrabbits. It's going to take about the middle of the 3rd quarter for Oklahoma State to figure out what the Jackrabbits are doing on defense. When that game starts, Cowboy fans, I know you're upset with me. You're just like the Mountaineer fans. Everybody's getting upset with me. Listen to me. When that game starts, watch what the South Dakota State Jackrabbits do on defense. Watch all of that pre-snap movement. Watch those defensive linemen get wide, then get close, and then have linebackers take the edge. The safeties run up, they run out. They confuse the opponents. Oklahoma State will figure it out. They're going to pull the game out, but the Jackrabbits are going to cover. I think, look, I think the Colorado Buffaloes should be at 13-point favorites over the Bison. And I think Oklahoma State should be like an 8.5-point favorite against the Jackrabbits. South Dakota State is quite a bit better than North Dakota State this year. People are going to find that out right on week 1's games. So I got South Dakota State covering. USC. LSU. This game had to go into the voting had to go to sudden death. PATC community. And you guys, eventually went with LSU minus 4.5. I'm going to agree. I got LSU minus 4.5. I think this is going to be a relatively close game. I've got question marks with Nussmeier. I've got question marks about the new defensive coaches from LSU. I've got question marks. I've got question marks about both defenses, of course, with USC. But I'm going to take LSU winning this game by a touchdown. LSU covers the spread. And, of course, Ryan Brooks is upset. He's upset that I took his LSU Tigers. I've got the Mountaineer fans mad at me because I took West Virginia. I've got LSU fans mad at me because I took LSU. I got Wisconsin fans shocked that I took the Badgers. I've got North Carolina fans having a celebration because I took the Gophers. That's the respect I get from the PATC community. Boston College, Florida State. Game 2 for the Seminoles. We're going to find out a lot about Florida State this game. I think they're playing. I think they're playing a good opponent for them coming off the loss to Georgia Tech. I actually think Boston College offense is probably going to give Florida State Seminoles some issues early in that game. Boston College did that to teams last year in the ACC. But I think Boston College is a good medicine for Florida State's offense. I think Florida State offense is going to get off the snide, and by the end of the game, they're going to run away with this. So I've got the Seminoles covering the minus 17. If it was a different opponent, okay. But I think Boston College is not going to be able to do what Georgia Tech did, and I think Florida State they're going to struggle. I mean, by halftime, it's going to be a relatively close game. But I think Florida State is going to take Boston College out going into the fourth quarter. Boston College, zero to little depth. They got a new head coach. Boston College does not have the continuity that Georgia Tech brought into week 0. So I got Florida State minus 17. So the PATC community took North Dakota State, Minnesota, Western Michigan, West Virginia, Georgia, Oklahoma State, LSU, Boston College, and the fat guy from Minnesota took Colorado, Minnesota, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Georgia, South Dakota State, LSU, and Florida State. Let's get to your phone calls. Enough about me talking and talking and talking. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Let me have it. Tell me how wrong I got everything. Talk about anything you want in college football.
Try the Badger.
I'm sorry, who is this?
This is Ryan, Greg.
Ryan Thomas. Got it. Thank you, sir, for calling. The floor is yours.
Well, Greg, I think you're kind of the Rodney Dangerfield of college football.
Absolutely.
You get
no respect,
Greg. No respect. Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see. I think your Gophers will be better than a lot of people expect. As long as the Paul Bunyan axe, stays in Minnesota, right? That's all that matters. So anyway, I wanted to just talk a little bit about UConn, and
okay.
I think a lot of people kind of forget a couple of things, but Connecticut is home to a lot of major insurance and financial services industries, and there's a lot of sponsorship money there that could certainly be used for NIL and other things. And if you're Greg Yormark, Brett Yormark, you got to be thinking about that, because that Northeastern corridor has a lot of money, and if you can get relationships there, not to mention keep ESPN happy, that can go a long way. So I think people need to kind of look at this more than just football. And I would point out that, the terms that are talked about is after 2031. It doesn't say in 2031, it says after 2031, which sort of seems to imply that there might be some benchmarks that need to be met, or dropping the team down to FCS if they're not met. So, I think people need to kind of realize that, there's money there for basketball. And if nothing's signed yet on the short form deal for the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about that Northeastern Excella corridor there with Villanova and Georgetown and Connecticut, there's a lot of money there, Greg. A lot of money in sponsorships and a lot of potential audience to at least build your basketball brand and kind of expand out, and that really juices up the basketball TV deal. So people need to kind of keep that in mind. And it probably has zero impact on football. Now, whether or not they all want to make the same mistake they made with the Big East, that's their choice, but, it could be a lot of money. But that's all I have, Greg. Keep up the good work, my friend. This is a shocker. I kept my call under 3 minutes, so
Beautiful.
Take care and have a great day.
Good man, sir. Thank you, sir. Great call. I thank you, everybody, for sending me the Front Office Sports article about UConn. The Big East does not have a grant of rights, but requires a 27-month notice for an early departure and a $15 million exit fee. So, again, it doesn't have the legal entanglements. That's why there's going to be first-party talks.
Call from
Steve-O.
Steve-O, the floor is yours. Can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
I apologize. I just wanted... why did I not take Miami Hurricanes versus the Florida Gators? I think the line is, 2.5 points? Miami in the Swamp. I think, I don't know, maybe the line has moved a little bit. If someone knows, they can let me know in the chat. The problem is, I am not going to take Florida. I got to tell you, I got Florida's record correct last year. But man, I got Graham Mertz. He played way better last year than I ever thought he would. I don't think Florida is ready to win this game. But, I can't take Florida. But I cannot take... I'm sorry, Rock and Rant. I'm sorry to all the Hurricane fans. I can't take the Hurricanes. I want to see them play this game. I'm going to watch this game. I'm going to evaluate Miami's offensive line. Woo! Woo! They're good. There's a lot of good things going. Respero, number 7, the great possession wide receiver. They've got Damian Martinez, the running back in the transfer. I love Martinez. I love Ruben Bain. I love so many things about Miami Hurricanes. Except I got to see Cam Ward play against an SEC Florida Gators in the swamp. I got to see Cam Ward hang on to the ball. I got to see him not sit there in the pocket and have the pocket collapse on him and have the ball strip away from him. It could be damp. It's in the swamp. Those small hands. All I can think about right now is Cam Ward and Mario Cristobal. I cannot trust Mario Cristobal at this point. And I think Cam Ward is a very, 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 very good quarterback, but I need to see him play in the swamp. I cannot take Miami. I cannot take Florida. I could not have that game be one of our selections. I could not pull the trigger. So therefore, I punted. I did a quick kick on 3rd down and long, like the Gophers should do a lot of times. Anyways, I could not take that game. I'm going to watch it. We're going to evaluate it. It could be a big victory for Miami. It could be a huge victory for Billy Napier. I'm going to stand back. I'm going to watch that game. That's the reason. I could not pull the trigger. Steve-O, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Hello, Greg. I'll be quick, but I wanted to get into you specifically today because a couple of weeks ago you talked about a certain conference wanting to play on unusual days.
Yeah.
How nice would it be to have a game?
Conferences.
How nice would it have been to have a game tonight? A week 0 Monday night game, or even a game last night. I mean, even an average game like, say, Virginia Tech against Kansas. I mean, there would be all kinds of people wanting to watch that game tonight.
Now, there was a report. There was a report from Ross Dellinger. You know, after I made that report, Ross Dellinger came out with a report saying how college football might move to week 0. Okay?
Right.
And I couldn't really talk about it because I did not have a voice and I'm, whatever. I was sick. I can tell you that information, while college football going to week 0, is not, I repeat, is not a part of the story that I reported on. It is not what, now, it is, but it's not germane to the bits of information that I got on conference or conferences playing games on non-traditional days. It isn't. I know a lot of people thought, oh, great, he told us before. No, that is not even what I was talking about. I'm talking about there are certain days besides week 0 that a conference or conferences are they're going to use going forward. And when that report hits in public, we'll talk about it. But that actually was not part of what I was talking about. Go ahead, Steve-O, again. I apologize. Thank you for your patience. You have the floor as long as you want it.
Well, I was just thinking tonight would have been a great time to have a game.
Yeah.
Another game I thought of was, Arizona and Kansas State are playing a non-conference game this year because it was already scheduled.
Yeah.
Is that right, too?
I think
that would have been a good one to have tonight.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I want to get to you today because I thought, well, man, it'd be a nice one to have tonight.
Yeah, it would. It'd be perfect.
All right. I'll let you go.
I will say this. Before you go, Steve-O, I will say this. I can't even say it. I don't have the go. what the hell? You only live once. There could be a Monday or Mondays a part of a conference or conferences conference schedule in the future. But it ain't this Monday. It ain't. And I'm going to leave it at that. So, but I appreciate it, sir. Thanks for the call.
Well, it'd been even nice if they'd put a couple G5 games. I mean, let's say Boise versus Tulane.
Yeah.
Or Memphis versus San Diego State or something, something like that even.
Yeah.
The G5 would get a lot of, eyeballs that they don't normally get. So
yeah.
I'll let you go. Thank you.
Man, appreciate it. Thank you, sir. So, back to this article. No grant of rights in the Big East. 27-month notice. Early departure. $15 million exit fee. A lot of ins and outs to it. I think it's serious. I just think the timing may not be favor UConn, but we'll find out.
Call from
Immaculate.
Mr. Hot Guy is on the line. I know he wants to talk. About I think is it a true freshman or a redshirt freshman? Running back.
I think he's a redshirt.
Huh?
I think he's a redshirt.
Okay, I think so too. I think he's a redshirt. Running back taking over RB1 on the depth chart for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Go ahead, sir. Let it rip.
I'm definitely going to go in on UConn story, but I thought you might want to talk about this, so I was prepared. It's very interesting. Unexpected. I mean, the kid's a talent, but he's behind two very experienced backs. But we have ourselves a brand new offense. And It would seem like the offensive coordinator feels better with the young guy running some of the specific plays that are important to his offense. And I found it very interesting to see because I actually just recently started playing Iowa in a new season, a new dynasty on college football game. And like a couple games in, I made that same switch.
Woo!
Their offense is frustrating, to say the least.
Oh.
And he came in off of a guy getting injured, and he was just better, so I just kept him.
Yeah.
And you never know how well that actually represents real life, but it was just kind of funny to see that happen today, and just days ago I did the same thing. But he's an incredible talent. But it also seems like he's learning faster than the other two guys. So watch out for Kamari Moulton. We'll see how well he does. In that offense, he's probably going to be very important.
Yeah, I bet he is. I bet he will be. Him and the tight ends, probably. I see that you're starting a transfer from Northwestern, too, a wide receiver. Interesting.
Yeah,
he came over with Brendan Sullivan.
He did.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of an ode. Like, I've been talking with some Iowa folks. I don't talk with a lot of them that often on X, but kind of a special time here right before the games start with a lot of reporting coming out. And my opinion is, I think if Cade's, I think he gets probably two series. The first one, okay, you can be off. Second one, if he's still off, I think we see Sullivan. And, that type of relationship that he might have with that receiver, and the fact that he is listed as their number two. If Cade's not looking good, if it's not moving very well or throwing very well, I could see Sullivan in there this game. I mean, this is the game to find out.
Yeah.
And you don't You don't want to just have them doing handoffs in the fourth quarter. That's when you bring in Linus, the young quarterback, just to kind of get him out there and feel it. But Sullivan, he had enough experience as the backup at Northwestern. He came in too. If he's looking good, I think he can earn the spot if he comes in and takes over early in the game. So we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's a little pipeline there from Northwestern.
Yeah.
Now, about the UConn stuff, is it all right if I put on just a little bit of tinfoil right now?
You got it. Put it on your head, man. Let it rip.
Because to me, the whole situation makes no sense on the surface. None. I don't understand why you would go into this again at this point when you've already got presidential no's. They already said no. What's changed? Doesn't look to me like anything. One thing has changed, and just one thing, and that's the Big East television deal. And it was very interesting to see the Athletic going in on it with Amanda Kristovich reporting it. She tends to dive in very deeply. And if UConn was to come over, they just signed that deal. And come on, you got to, like, UConn is the major value of that deal. Major. Like, I couldn't get a number to how much it would harm that deal if they were to leave, but it's considerable. And you know what networks are part of that deal. It's Fox, it's TNT, and who's the other one? It's NBC, right? I do believe it's NBC.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
too.
So I mean, that's three networks that you probably don't want to piss off. At least Fox and TNT. I mean, if the Big 12 wants to maybe sign with them at some point in time, that, we've talked about that. There's been a little smoke, but not a whole lot. But that's probably a network you don't want to piss off at this time if you're the Big 12. Over, UConn's got value, but do they have that much value? You want to piss off one of your main two partners and then possibly a future partner who could be big for you? I say no. So to me, if there's anything at all to this, wouldn't Fox and therefore TNT actually, here's the tinfoil part, but wouldn't they actually want this to happen? If it's to happen, I don't think it's going to happen. And so why would they want that to happen? Well, could TNT and Fox get out of that deal if this was to happen? Is there enough value in UConn if they were to leave to say, well, this breaks this deal? This doesn't just make it go left, because as the Athletic reported, they could take the value down. Would that free up then TNT to maybe do something else? I don't know. That's the tinfoil stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, like, what other reason is there for him to bring this up right now? I mean, I had mentioned something else. Well, maybe the terms of the contract, they wasn't all in paper and signed. But from the reporting I've seen from the Athletics, it kind of looks like that's done. So there's no way to, like, get out real quick before you sign on. Plus, there's no Gore. Yeah. There's no grant of rights with that conference. Yeah. So there's nothing like that to sign. So it's just an exit fee, and it's considerable. But I think that the relationships with the networks is the bigger deal. So I don't know what you think, man. I don't know what others think. And it's one of those where it's like, this just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me on the surface. And it just kind of feels like there's got to be a bigger play to this for Yormark to take the same thing to the president they already said no on. I don't know, and is UConn enough to do that damage, or would they have to also bring another one from there just to ensure it, like the Villanova? I don't know, but that's my thoughts on it. Is I know people kind of jumped onto it and said, oh, UConn and Gonzaga and Washington State and Oregon State, and I just think that's probably getting a little too far ahead of what's going on here. I think this is, if someone really wants to look at this and figure out what's going on, I think you kind of have to look at the networks this time, because I just think there's no way in heck that Big 12 wants to piss off Fox and ruin that deal of theirs, nor would they want to piss off TNT if there's any chance at all that they could sign with them in the future. What do you think?
Well, there was a report that ESPN is willing, we talked about that before, right? ESPN is willing to push the money to make it so it's revenue neutral for the other Big 12 schools. Fox is a big player in this, as you eloquently just stated. I mean, Fox has this deal with Big East, but, if UConn goes to the Big 12, that's going to torpedo the value of the Big East from 2026 and beyond. So, Yormark doesn't want to get the Big Fox upset with them. I got a feeling that Fox would be okay with UConn going to the Big 12. I think they probably have given Yormark a wink and a nod to say, go ahead and pursue it. If it happens, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Big 12 is going to have, some of those basketball games, obviously. They're still going to carry Big East basketball, just probably at a lower price point. So, yeah, that's what I think. I don't think they're trying to totally get out of the Big East deal. I think Fox is going to carry Big East basketball no matter what happens. But I think it's, going to be at a much lower price point. So, and I think UConn, the thing is this is serious first party talks. This is what happens when this is that phase where it's serious. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but to get to this point, a lot of people would have already had to given enough of a green light for it to get to this point. And Fox is probably one of those, okay, go ahead and pursue it and see what happens.
Could it then be a temptation for TNT? We just brought the main value out of the Big East that you signed for, because you were signing for basketball.
Yeah.
That's easy to replace basketball content. And you take the main one and you're saying, look, TNT, we want to work a deal with you. I know you maybe not be ready to do basketball or football yet, but we need another partner, a main partner. I mean, is this bait for TNT to? Because if UConn leaves, they are going to lower what they pay out to the Big East.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if there's other schools there that were maybe thinking of something else, like just saying positive, the ACC becomes this elite private university, I think that they might look to taking some East Coast private schools like a Georgetown. I would have said like a Villanova, St. John's in New York, that type of stuff. I mean, are we starting to see some of these plays happening now because the timeline is getting so narrow, and with the House settlement still holding up, like they're having to start maybe work on some of the stuff ahead of time? I don't know. It just seems like an iceberg. Like what we see is just a very small part of it. That's kind of my thought on it. So I just thought I'd call in to share that, because that's who I'm watching this, is like Fox, TNT, and like this feels like a network play overall. So, anyways, I'm gonna let you go at that.
All right, man.
See what people that, but appreciate you, man, and good luck with your picks.
You got it. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Great call. Immaculate, Mr. Hawkeye, getting excited. Immaculate is getting excited. He should be. That Iowa Hawkeyes defense, woo! Higgins and Castro and the whole gang are going to be a very tough out, the Iowa Hawkeyes. I do think they're going to run in a buzzsaw against Iowa State Cyclones, though. But we'll get to that when we get to it. But I'm going to be taking the Cyclones in that game. So now the Iowa State Cyclones fans are upset with me. I wanted to go through a couple more things here. Marcus Benjamin, Keynes County, part of Rivals, a couple hours ago on Twitter, Miami Athletic Director Dan Radakovich, the University of Miami is a proud and happy member of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Today, August 26th, Marcus Benjamin put that out at 2:48. Dan Radakovich said on December 28, 2023, Miami Athletic Director Dan Radakovich said, Miami is an interested observer with Florida State taking actions toward leaving the ACC, but right now they are proud members of the ACC. So they're proud members of the ACC on December 28, 2023. They're proud members of the ACC August 26, 2024. They're going to be proud members anytime the athletic director, Dan Radakovich, gets asked. He's going to say, we're proud members of the ACC. Miami's one, in my strongly held opinion, and I would say strongly held opinion from those that chatter behind the curtain. Miami's one pathway to a Power 2 conference goes through Chicago. And I have reported this before. Miami's not up on the stage. Miami's in the first row with North Carolina State. They're going to need certain things to happen for Miami. But what they're going to do, Miami, they're going to control what they can control. And what they can control is having good relationships with the Big Ten. They're going to show that they are a trusted partner with the ACC. And in the future, if there is an opportunity, Miami's going to be considered, if Miami can do anything about it, and they're doing about it right now, Miami's going to be considered a trusted partner in the Big Ten. Miami wants to make sure that if there's an opportunity, that there's no Big Ten president, no Big Ten athletic director, nobody worrying about Miami coming into the conference and trying to dictate who gets paid what, who's a better value brand. And, Miami's not going to come in and say, we demand that this school be our rival. This is going to be our travel plan. This is what we're going to do with our baseball, whatever. Miami is going to say, and they're going to continue to say it, we are proud members of the ACC. We are good partners of the ACC. And that is not going to change. one other thing. Back to the beginning of the show.
Welcome back, folks. We are live. I am Chip Monroe, and with me in the booth is the legendary...
Back to the beginning of the show. The Max Brosmere propaganda. Quarterback of the Gophers. Max Brosmere, if you go to my Twitter account, Max Brosmere has put out a song that he wrote, that he sang, and that he played the guitar. A song that he wrote called Old Jack Daniels. I'm just going to play a little bit of it. I'm going to get in trouble with YouTube. That's just going to happen. Go to your YouTube search engine and just put in Max, M-A-X, space Brosmere, B-R-O-S-M-E-R. It's going to go you right to his YouTube channel. And this is his song, Old Jack Daniels, Max Brosmere, the quarterback of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, who's going to lead the Gophers to victory this Thursday night.
I got a poster of him hanging in my room, and that black label, be here by noon. Oh, Tennessee whiskey, won't you take my pain away? I've been sitting behind bars for the past 2 weeks, and all I think about is that amber sweet. Oh, Jack Daniels, you make me complete. Oh, number 7, coming straight from the heavens, distilled and bottled in Lynchburg, Tennessee. I hope old Jack himself is proud. Don't want my head keep spinning around. Oh, Jack Daniels, look what you've done to me.
Max Brosmere, go check it out. YouTube channel. Fantastic job. The guy who's going to lead us to a victory. A victory over the North Carolina Tar Heels. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Smash the like button if you like our content. And then share the video with your family and your friends. I want to thank you all joining us. Week 1, Greg the Gold selections. It happened. We did our selections. PATC community and myself. We'll see what happens. Keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. We could come on live at any time. We could come on late tonight. We could come on again tomorrow morning. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. Week 1 is here. We have made it. We have made it. We've been through the winter months. We've been through the spring football, the dog days of May, June, July, then August camp. Injuries happen, vacations happen, sickness happen, but now we are ready. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about week 1, college football, Wednesday, Thursday night, watch party, Minnesota, North Carolina, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to be on the air almost all the time talking about the game we love, college football. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner, and we'll see you tomorrow. Until next time, tomorrow or tonight, if there's breaking news, until next time. From all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.